Welcome to Tallahassee, everybody, on the ACC Network Extra. Florida State in Miami in Florida's capital city. And FSU is on the board first. Audrey Koenig with the opening kill and an opening challenge by Miami head coach Keno Gondara. Well, that's one heck of a way to start. One swing, one kill, one challenge. So glad to have you with us. Sean Davison, Madison Fitzpatrick, Meredith Grimm on the call for you today in Florida's capital city of Tallahassee. Great crowd on hand. The Canes and the Noles taking on each other for the second straight day in two different sports. Played a big football game yesterday. The Noles won that 27-20. And now here they go in volleyball. This is the second meeting between the Canes and the Noles this season. Their first meeting went 5 sets in Coral Gables. And so as we take a look at the monitor, we say hello. Sean Davison alongside Madison Fitzpatrick, the beach volleyball All-American here at Florida State. And Madison, I'll keep it quite simple. This is the kind of match, if you wear orange and green or garnet and gold, that you really live to play for.
100%. Everybody loves a rivalry match, and we have a really good one here today. Florida State looking to continue their win streak and continue this awesome ACC run that they've been on, and Miami looking to win against a really solid opponent.
The challenge by Miami was unsuccessful, and so the Canes are down to one challenge for the balance of the match. Ella Gaona is back to serve. Started the Noles match as their libero against Syracuse and is starting as a defensive specialist here today. Grace Lopez, though, she's the reigning ACC Offensive Player of the Week, and for good reason. That's a tremendous swing from the right pin, Madison.
Yeah, fantastic swing to start off. What a statement.
Koenig. Kill number 2 for AK.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Out of the middle, that finds the floor. Janice Leao. Angela Grieve back to serve. And Chiari Roby, the reigning ACC Defensive Player of the Week, getting involved in Florida State's early offensive efforts. Back and forth we go here. Early on in set 1 with the Noles leading it 3-2.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh.
Kenna Phelan back to serve. And there's Chiari Roby on the block. Roby, who has really spearheaded Florida State's surging block here in ACC play, has her first of the match. Lopez, back row. And she can fill up the kill column, front row, back row, anywhere on the court. Just a freshman, and a tremendous one at that for Coach Gondara and the Canes. That sends Yanalise Rosado back to serve. She has really settled in as Miami's libero. And Savannah Vach, the tremendous setter for the Canes, sends the free ball over to Florida State. Koenig, already 2 kills in the match, one off the top of the block. Rosado will serve it in once again. She's from Morovas, Puerto Rico. one of a handful of international players for Miami. Roby dug up by Rosado. Back row Grieve dug up by Filamala. And I believe Florida State was in the net. Yeah, it looks like they'll catch Kiari Roby for it. Rosado serves it in. Koenig off of Lopez. Five all, set one. And a massive swing out at the pin for Flor Marie Heredia Colon. That airmails the end line, though. It's an attack error for Heredia Colon. And that sends Audrey Koenig back to serve. Sydney Conley from the right pin had it blocked. Back row Koenig rolling it to Lopez. Off-speed tip, Grieve. Lopez launches. Koenig got a hand on it. And Conley rolls it over. Lopez. Koenig back row. What effort by Miami defensively there. Wow. Rothman rejected. Phelan over on two. Conley down the line. Grieve back row. What a rally. Grieve with the roll. Roby! That'll get a capacity crowd on their feet. And there's an ace to follow. Audrey Koenig, who has been tremendous offensively from the drop as a Seminole. Speaking of back row work, how about attacking from the back row? Grace Lopez. She swung early, she swung often, and that arm swing is terrific. Both teams have really set the back row a lot here in this match as Lopez now rotates to the front row, and that swing looks good wherever she is. Now Miami runs a 5-1. So for the last handful of rotations, they've had two primary attackers in the front row. Now Vach, the setter who leads the ACC in assists per set, goes back to serve, and that means Miami now has three attackers up at the net. Roby again. She has been brimming with confidence in ACC play, and you can see it wherever she is on the floor. 3 kills for Roby, 3 more for Koenig. They have all of Florida State's 6. Abby Cassiano breaks into the scorer's column. And now everybody across the net for Miami has recorded a kill by position group. Grieve, an outside hitter. Lopez, a right side hitter. A couple of middles. And there's an ace serve. Flor Marie Heredia Colon. Kalamaua overpass terminated. Timeout, Florida State. Miami on a 3-0 run, leading it now 10-9 here in this opening set. Both teams hitting above 300 to this point in this set. So a showcase of fireworks to start between these two passionate rivals who have a knack for playing tight matches. 3 of the last 4 between Miami and Florida State have gone 5 sets. FSU winning the last 3 matches played. Miami winning the 3 before that. So there have been ebbs and flows back and forth between the Canes and the Noles. FSU wearing their home black. Miami wearing grays on the road today. And if we take a look at the series history, FSU leads the series 19-9 all time, and they're 8-1 here in Tully Gym. I mentioned 3 of the last 4 matches went to 5 sets, and FSU won in 5 in early October in Coral Gables. There's Jillian Hatter, a longtime assistant coach for Miami under Coach Ken Ogondara. And Edia Colon set to serve it in once again. Koenig on serve receive. Quick pass to the middle. And when Florida State's got it going, they will set that middle early and often and open up the offense right through players like Kiari Roby and Corey Lewis, the Tallahassee native. Perfect pass, and that's the result. Now, I mentioned that Miami goes 5-1. Florida State goes 6-2. Here is their graduate setter, Angelia Draskovic, who goes by Jelly. Delayed call, point Florida State. Noles did not touch the volleyball on its way out, so Draskovic will go back to serve once more. Important to note, if you're just tuning in, Miami challenged the first point of the match and was unsuccessful, which means the Canes are now down to 1 challenge for the balance of the match until the 5th set, where they could get a second one back. Rothman. Grieve off the net and out of play. I'll tell you what, though, Yadalise Rosado has recorded a handful of tremendous digs, really a couple of handfuls now, 6 digs for Rosado alone. There she is on serve receive. She got jammed up, set up ahead to Grieve. Rothman hits the deck and might have gone across that center stripe. Lopez from the right pin. Lopez again. Third effort off speed. Snyder. Cross court, point Seminoles. But Miami is certainly not going to be happy about multiple points in this particular rally. Everybody jumped off of the bench when Rothman slid across the Terraflex to dig up a ball, and her hands touched the white line underneath the net. Then I think they thought there was a lift at a subsequent point in the rally. And so it's still going to be point Seminoles, but an extended conversation between the coaches and our officials. Snyder had it rejected. Lewis puts it down. And after Miami went on a 3-0 run to force a Florida State timeout, the Noles have come out with a 5-0 run of their own. And even out-of-system balls like this are finding the floor. Out of the middle, one-handed dig by Droskovic. Snyder could not keep that ball in play, but you're seeing all-out effort on both sides of the net. It has been compelling TV in the first 25 points of this match. Milana Moisio back to serve. Rothman dug up. Adedia Colon, nice job getting underneath that. Double contact on the set will be called by the up official Kim Wisham. Wisham joined by Joya Teeter, who is our down referee here today. As Moisio goes back to serve once more. Quick set to the middle, this time Corey Lewis, and Lewis has recorded a couple of kills in this first set. I'll correct myself, she's now recorded her third kill on 4 swings. Heck of a run through the net for Corey Lewis. Grieve dug up. Filamau laying out for that. Leao rejected, Miami keeps it. Grieve again off the hand of Snyder, and Florida State would have taken 4 contacts to get it back across the net. Point Canes, they trim the lead to 2 at the midway point. Lopez, jump topspin. Koenig tools the block. It was up and ready, but it flew out of play. So point Seminoles, that's another kill for Koenig. Each team with 11 kills to this point in this set. And there's another one. They are playing very clean volleyball for the most part. And Grieve now has 5 kills here in this first set. She heads back to serve. So solid a player, strong in all 6 rotations, and Florida State can only send a free ball over. Leao out of the middle. Leao, a player who has battled some injury issues this season and has come back and is really getting up to speed once again and has looked pretty darn good doing so. Grieve again, what a strong serve, and it's an ace. And just like that, we're tied at 16. A 3-0 run for Miami. Koenig. Adedia Colon got her hand underneath it. But Grieve couldn't get hers under that one. Man, has this set been fun or what? Leao! She ranks in the top 10 in hitting percentage in the ACC, 8 points shy of 400. And she's 3 for 4 in this one. And 17 knots it up at 17. Koenig off speed, picked up by Lopez. And Audrey Koenig rotates now to the front row. Grieve into the net. A player who is described by Coach Gondera as a feisty competitor who is so consistent. She leads her team in scoring, despite that one not clearing the top of the tape. Koenig already has an ace. Audrey Koenig kept up by Conley. Now Rothman will want a touch call and won't get it. Point Miami, we are tied again. Nine ties, 4 lead changes in this set alone. Vach to serve it in. Overpass. Cassiano tried to terminate it. Florida State got it back across. Off speed. What a smart shot. And so after unleashing the power, Cassiano herself tips it on second effort and finds the floor, and there's a block as well. Abby Cassiano and Flor Marie Audrey Koenig teaming up for the double block, and Miami leads 20-18. There's another one. And it's Cassiano who has just been a lightning bolt of energy for the Canes, who are on a 4-0 run. And as these teams head to their respective huddles, we will take a time. What a run for Miami here in set one. A 4-0 run to open up a 3-point lead over the Noles. And as we take a look at what their postseason resume looks like, they're 16-8, 9-5 in conference. Their RPI right at 37. So it's going to be an interesting conversation with regard to the Canes, who have been an NCAA tournament regular under Coach Gondera. This match today certainly helps, and they're playing like it. FSU, though, gets the side out they absolutely needed. Audrey Rothman with the kill to trim the lead to 2. Pass was tight to the net, and I believe Abby Cassiano was in it. Timeout, Miami. And so in a first set full of runs back and forth, FSU counters with a couple of points in a row, and Coach Gondera calls timeout to try to preserve this 1-point lead and see if they can't close out set number 1.
There will also be faculty and staff appreciation. FSU employees can get a free bag of popcorn and 12-ounce soda by showing their FSU ID. Again, that is Friday, November 17th at 6 p.m.
And so there's Coach Gondera chatting with the Canes. 11th year for Coach Keno, and they have been to the NCAA tournament 6 times in the previous 10 years. A couple of years ago, in fact, had arguably one of the best seasons in Miami program history. RPI of 14, finished second in the ACC, and arguably should have hosted in the NCAA tournament. Ended up going to Gainesville and lost in the second round. But they had a tremendous year, and it included a 5-set win over the Noles in a match where a lot of folks thought whoever won that one was going to host. In reality, FSU went to Nebraska, they went to Florida, And both head coaches meet here once again. Chris Poole in his 16th season, 913 career D1 wins, a two-time ACC Coach of the Year, and those Division I wins are second most amongst active D1 coaches, only to Mary Wise with the aforementioned Florida Gators. Roby to serve it in. Heredia Colon. Excuse me, I think that's Lopez over on the left pin. And she tools the block. That's Heredia Colon. Rothman goes off speed. Lopez takes some off as well. Lewis, plenty of heat on that. Joust at the net. It goes to Miami. Lopez off the edge of the block and down. Punch, counter punch. And the freshman has plenty. Leading scorer on the floor, 6 kills on 13 swings for the reigning ACC Offensive Player of the Week. Corey Lewis, that's her 4th kill on 6 swings. And the Noles send their most experienced player into the match to serve. Jelly Draskovic, who has been the jelly or the glue, you could say, of this team, drops in the ace. One of the best servers in the ACC, and Coach Gondara wants a timeout. Boy, you can see the competitive fire in Draskovic, which fuels a lot of this Florida State team. She has been a central figure and doesn't get a lot of attention because in a 6'2", you share the load with your fellow setters. So some of the gaudy numbers that you see in a 5-1 system, you just don't see for her. But in terms of going to the back row, passing balls, digging balls, serving balls, setting balls, she has been as good as they come this year. And that serve was picture-perfect proof. 5.33 assists per set for Jelly Draskovic. And she and her counterpart, Kenna Phelan, almost identical numbers in that department. She also averages nearly 2 digs per set this season. There's Phelan, the youngster, looking on just year 1 for her, the 2-time reigning Arkansas Gatorade Player of the Year. And I mentioned they're nearly identical. Try 0.16 lower than Draskovic in terms of assists per set, and just a couple of tenths shy in terms of digs per set. Both of them have been strong. Phelan has learned a lot from Draskovic. She's taken her under her wing, and so the future is bright for the Noles, but it certainly looks good now, especially with number 3 in black back to serve. And so in a match that has been back and forth and in a series that has been airtight, we approach the end of set number 1. Will anyone blink? Is there an end in near sight, or are we going to just keep going past 25? We'll find out soon enough. Lopez dug up by Draskovic, and Snyder could not track it down. So Miami does exactly what they hoped for, get Draskovic off the service line, side out, and bring up set point. It'll be Milana Moisillo back to serve, and Lopez, boy, that stare says a lot, doesn't it? Service error. It is still set point for the Canes. They just need a side out now as opposed to being able to close it out on their own. It'll be the freshman Ella Gaona. Lopez, rightfully so, puts an end to set 1, and Miami comes on the road and wins it 25-23. Just last weekend, in fact, Georgia Tech knocked off Louisville. The Noles knocked off Pitt to force a four-way tie atop the conference. And that is dug over for the kill. I mean, come on, Heredia Cologne is real good, but even that's mind-blowing to her. Lewis rejected Leao. More like wow. And so FSU, who has been doing a tremendous job in the block department, especially over the last few weeks, is currently being outblocked by Miami 3-1. That service error is Florida State's first point of the set. Rothman serves it in. And Lopez missed the sideline. And that ball somehow skirted between our cameraman, myself, the monitor, and didn't hit anything. So we'll chalk that up as a win. Rothman serves it in. Grieve rejected, but Miami keeps it up. Lopez tips it over the block. Out of system ball, Koenig, doesn't matter. She is so good. She can go up there and hit those high sets with blockers in her face without issue. 3-0 run for the Noles. Out of the middle. Leao looking for an off-speed kill, and Koenig tools the block for a kill of her own. 4-0 run for Florida State. And the service error puts an end to the Noles run. Miami back within one. And how important it would be for the Canes, who stay within touch here after the service error, to win the first two sets on the road. Still a long way from figuring out if they'll win set two, but they did a nice job in set one. That's a service error by Grace Lopez. The jump topspin is dynamic. It's tough for teams to pass, but it also is a high-risk, high-reward serve. If you can get it in, it's great, but you might not always, and she didn't. Grieve, high touch, off speed. Koenig, same thing. Lopez almost into the stands. Back row tip, Heredia Cologne. Koenig once again. Audrey Koenig has been brilliant so far in this match. Overpass. Koenig was there, and so too was Roby. Roby got a hand on that one again. Lopez off speed. Snyder off speed as well. The freshman right pins taking some off, and Snyder gets the kill. And quietly, Maddie Snyder with 3 kills on 5 swings, hitting 600 to this point in the match. Over on 2, you gotta be ready for Savannah Bach to call her own number, and she has come along well, Coach Gondura says, in that offensive department. Continues to get more offensive every year, is extremely confident, a settling force for her team on the floor. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the match, the #1 setter in the ACC, leads the conference in assists per set. Grieve the service error, the float floated too far. as Florida State sends a couple of subs back to the floor, and we welcome back in Madison Fitzpatrick. Madison, great to have you.
It is good to be back. I'm excited we got a good game, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. It's been a fun match to this point, hasn't it?
A super fun match with all those ties in the first set.
It just feels like no lead is safe because each of these teams has gone on extended 3, 4, 5-point runs that erase and flip the scoreboard. As it stands, Florida State has a 3-point lead. Yadalise Rosado back to serve. Conley on the slide will look for a touch call and get it.
Conley is one of those players that can hit from every single area of the court. She's a senior, she's a veteran, and she's got a lot of range. Super wristy swinger, so it's really difficult to dig and read her on defense.
Her first kill of the match. Audrey Koenig has a couple of handfuls. She has an ace, and she induces an overpass that Conley terminates. Straight down from number 15 in black. Lopez dug up by the freshman Filamawa. Back row Grieve dug up by Phelan. Miami can't get to it. Kenna Phelan.
And Kenna Phelan's defense is just as strong as her setting ability. She's so scrappy. She's going to play beach this season for Florida State, so she's got all that scrappiness back there. She makes those quick twitch digs. She makes the hard-driven dig. She lays out like Superman to dig those tips. She really does a lot for the Seminoles defensively.
8 assists to go along with 3 digs to this point for Kenna Phelan in this match. The Noles are on another run, and this is really as large a lead as we've seen for either side at any point to this point in the match. The Noles leading at 11-5, and you have to imagine, Madison, if you're Chris Poole and Florida State, after a topsy-turvy set 1, this is exactly the kind of tone you want to strike in set 2.
Exactly. You want to strike fast, and you want to strike hard. You want to regain some of that momentum and confidence that they had going into this match in general. I think we can definitely look to Florida State to continue to heat up throughout this set.
And it's interesting, too, because these teams, I mentioned earlier in the show, they have a knack of playing tight and going long distances. They had a 5-setter in Coral Gables in October, but that was without Corey Lewis.
Exactly, and we know Corey Lewis makes such a big impact in that front row offensively, and then her net defense has just been outstanding this season. She leads the team and the ACC in hitting percentage, so having her back out there on the court is such an advantage for the Noles.
Miami's looking to try to snap their 3-match losing streak to Florida State. The Noles are looking for their longest winning streak against Miami since 2012 to 2015 when they won 6 in a row over the Canes. It would also keep the Noles in first place in the ACC with just a couple of weeks left to play. And so with a 6-point lead, Audrey Koenig goes back to serve. Nice pass. Heredia Colon goes off speed. Oh, wow. I mean, FSU has found full song to this point. Kiari Roby with the quick set, or excuse me, the quick kill off of a immediate set. I mean, everything there. The 3-point pass was just perfect.
Yep, and that's why you run a 3 right there. The block was split, and she took advantage of that open seam and just drove it through that gap.
8 kills on 13 swings for Florida State in this set. They have 1 attack error, so they're hitting .538. Free ball to Miami. Heredia Colon had it rejected, and I believe they're going to call Kiari Roby for being in the net. They will. She doesn't seem convinced. FSU's going to hang on to the challenge. Their lead down to 6. Conley had it dug up by Rosado. Conley again. Yeah, there you go, Heredia Colon. The player who is on the Dominican national team and has 15 matches this season with 10 or more kills, already has 4.
Yep, and Coach described her as a powerful player, and I think that's a perfect example right there of all that power she has behind her swing.
One-handed set by Kenna Phelan to Audrey Rothman, who has plenty of power on her own, and so too does Angie Grieve, getting it done from the back row.
And Miami has a lot of offensive weapons, and you see they're utilizing the back row in Grieve. Coach said she's a feisty competitor. I like watching her face after she gets a kill.
Koenig did not get it over the net. Miami had the triple block ready. And Miami is now on a 4-0 run. Here we go again. Free ball to the Canes. Cassiano had it blocked. Rosado's there to cover. Lopez off the top of the block, and a free ball won't get over the net.
And that was a good blocking round by Florida State. They got the block, and then even though they didn't put that ball down, they got a really solid touch on the ball and allowed their defense to scramble, but just not able to come up with it.
Conley, cross court. Rosado sets the out-of-system ball to Heredia Colon. And there's Colon. Hello again.
Yep, Coach said that Heredia Colon has a good blocking sense, so that means she's got a knack for where to put her hands and awareness of the angles. And you see her there diving into that line, taking away the seam, pointing her palms down towards the court. There's no covering that ball.
A 6-0 run for Miami, and Chris Poole calls timeout with the lead down to 1. And the player who has engineered that offense for the Canes is the one and only Savannah Vach. And Vach has been tremendous. When you look at career assist leaders in the history of the Miami program, she stands alone by some 600 assists over Katie Gallagher and then Jill Robinson in third.
Wow, and she has 967 assists so far this season. She's such a good leader as a grad student, really commands that offense, does a really good job spreading out the ball to the pins and the middle, and she's also aggressive offensively. Versus Pitt, she used herself as a weapon a lot coming off that Pitt match. So she's dynamic, she's physical, she's a leader, and her stats right there show for it.
And even in her freshman year, ranked in the top 10 in the conference in assists per set. So this has been clearly a consistent thing for Savannah Vach, who has been tremendous from the jump. One of those players that can change the entire trajectory of a program, isn't she?
Yes, exactly. You have a player every once in a while that comes in and from the get-go has been so solid and so successful, it definitely can change the trajectory of the program.
And she's a player, too, who already has 20 assists in this match, by the way.
Yeah.
She has 20 assists in this match. She has a handful of digs. She has 9 assist dig double-doubles on the season. FSU's trying to put an end to this run, and they just found it. Sydney Conley right through the seam.
And that's what happens at this high level when the middles don't close the block. Hitters will take advantage of that, swing through the gap, and take advantage of the open seam.
Roby back to serve. The lead for Florida State has diminished greatly. And that's an illegal back row attack. Angela Grieve launched from in front of that back row line.
Yep, your foot cannot step on or in front of that 10-foot line before you jump.
Lopez tools the FSU block and sides out for the Canes.
And Lopez, we talked about this before, earned herself ACC Offensive Player of the Week. She's coming off 24 kills versus Pitt. And so far today, she's got 9. So she's been really successful late in this ACC play and throughout the whole season.
And she goes back to serve. Quick set to the middle. There's Corey Lewis.
Corey Lewis is one of those players that every time they touch the ball, you think that they're probably going to score. Right there, running the 3-set, moving that middle block with a sharp cross swing, able to get the kill. And that's why her hitting percentage is so, so high. She's so successful every time.
And Madison, if you're Miami, Corey Lewis is a 3-year player, so the fact that you haven't seen her yet this year in person, some of the players have seen her in the past, but she's also grown as a player since then. How tricky is it to adjust to seeing her on the floor when you didn't see her earlier this year?
It definitely is tricky. Yes, they watch film and they scout, so they definitely have seen Corey Lewis play, but it is always different when you get out there on the court.
And Lewis and the Noles are reestablishing the lead they once enjoyed. Another ace for Audrey Koenig, and that has been the marked improvement here of late. Excuse me, that's Jelly Droskovic. Another ace for her, and she's been great all along, just as I was saying.
Yep, she has such a solid flat float serve that just drops and moves at the very end.
Back set Lopez. It hovers off that Florida State block and tumbles out of play. Credit the freshman for tooling FSU.
And Lopez is a left-handed right side attacker, so the block sees a little bit of a different angle, sees a different shoulder, and sometimes that's more difficult for a block to block as they're accustomed to a right-sided attacker.
Leading scorer on the floor, 10 kills on 22 swings for Lopez. And Miami got it across. Droskovic called her own number. Now Snyder plays it up to Jelly Droskovic. Rothman lets it fly, and there's no digging that up.
Rothman is one of those quiet players who just plays so consistently throughout the entire match every single time. And you see right there why. She's super athletic, has a really long approach, and a nice smooth swing.
Grieve. Rothman sets the out-of-system ball to her fellow pin, Koenig. I think the younger Audrey thought it was down for a kill. She was lobbying for it. I don't know that a whole lot of other people were convinced. Chris Poole's not going to challenge it. Got to bet on yourself, right?
Oh, exactly. You got to believe in yourself, and they have a lot of confidence going into this, so I see why.
Miami's block was ready. What a job by Philamau, a one-handed dig. Grieve off the edge of the block, Koenig there to cover. Lewis rejected, covered by Gaona. Here comes Grieve. And there it is, a kill off the touch.
That was smart by Grieve to hit high hands off Maddie Snyder, who's a pretty tall physical blocker. But Grieve was able to grab those fingertips because she contacted that ball at such a high point over the net.
Chris Poole taking his second timeout here of the set. There are no more remaining for the Noles. Their lead has been trimmed.
We can all agree that Biden's the
Announced team Meredith Grimm. Miami winning set one, and there's a service error to re-extend FSU's lead to 4. It's been as large as 7. Miami went on a 6-0 run to trim it down to 1, and now FSU is in the process of trying to re-extend it a little bit. Those service errors by the Canes will certainly help the cause. Misconnection. The set got there before Grieve did, and she try as she might to get up there and tip it, she couldn't quite get her hand on it.
Yep, Grieve trying to run a quick set, which is what you have to do to beat that middle blocker, and Kiari Roby just not able to have that connection there.
That's a good connection. Janice Leao.
And Janice Leao has such a nice long approach. She can hit every single area of the court, has a lot of range, and she's finding success in that deep back corner.
Koenig off speed. Adedia Cologne covers. Back row Grieve. Does Miami have another run in them? Their block has been giving FSU some fits. Pass is tight. Heredia Cologne wants a touch call. There still isn't a call either side. And it's going to go to the Noles. Might Coach Gondara challenge this? They only have one left. And they're going to use that second one right here.
And they might as well. Florida State nearing that red zone, nearing 25. So this is a big, big important point.
The challenge that Miami used in the first set came on the first point. And they challenged whether or not Florida State touched a ball that ended up going out as an attack error. That was unsuccessful. It was point Noles anyway. And so the way the challenge system works now, as opposed to the way it worked a few years ago, is that you get two, and if you're right, you keep them. If you're wrong, you lose them. And I believe Miami is dead on the money right here.
Yep, and I love the challenge system. I love that you get rewarded if you are correct in your challenge. And yep, you see right there, that's a pretty good angle. You see Maddie Snyder's fingertips bend back a little bit.
And Joya Tudor's already made her decision and has ruled that it is a touch. That's the right call. And Miami records a much-needed kill. So they hang on to that challenge. They still, though, only have the one they just got back for the balance of the match until the fifth set. Koenig dug up by Rosado. Koenig off the block and down.
And that was a super athletic swing by Koenig. That set just a bit inside and a bit low. So Koenig had to crash inside, speed up those last two steps of her approach, and she still managed to get the kill.
FSU is a team hitting 253. Miami is a team hitting 250. So for a match that has been as tight as this one has, well, that says all of it. Koenig looking for another kill. She's got it. Kill number 9 for AK.
And I'll just remind the viewers out there, last time Koenig played Miami, she had a career-high 24 kills and 19 digs. So she has found an answer for Miami's defense, and she's showing it here again today.
Yeah, both of those numbers, in fact, were career highs for Audrey Koenig, and she's on her way once again, to your point, 9 kills, 6 digs through the first set and 2/3 or so, maybe 3/4 of the second one. Over on 2, Vach found the floor.
And that was the perfect pass to go over on 2 with. It was a little tight. Vach jumped up, and I said it before, but she is very aggressive and offensively minded as a setter.
And that team is incredibly competitive, and with more on that, here's the third member of our crew, Meredith Grimm. All right, thank you very much, Meredith. As Miami trims the lead down to 3. Roby off speed. Heredia Cologne. Touched by a couple Seminoles, I believe. Got a piece of Conley at the net, and then if it didn't, Phelan got a hand on it as it was screaming down the line. Lead is down to 2, another 3-0 run for the Canes. Rosado serves it in once more. Conley hesitates on the slide. Cologne, that was in the antenna.
Yep, Cologne using all of that power to try and tool the block right there. She was a little off balance. She has to work hard to get back in transition. And she was just a little off balance there with that swing and caused it to go out.
They're going to go right back to her. She goes cross court and misses the sideline. And so after dropping a back and forth set one, Miami will call timeout before FSU serves for set two.
And that was a good timeout. I'm really liking the calls by Miami head coach. Trying to ice the server. Has a chance to talk to his team for a little bit. It's a good call.
Let's chat with Meredith Grimm once more.
Thanks, Sean. In a quote from Chris Poole earlier this week, just talking about the competitiveness within the ACC, he says that their goal is to, quote, play to their fullest potential in every single moment. No sets off, not even taking a singular point off. And I think Audrey Koenig has been a prime example of that mentality.
She certainly has, Meredith. Thank you very much. She leads the Noles in kills and is the second leading scorer on the floor to Grace Lopez. And I'll say this, Madison, as early and as often as we talked about Grace Lopez, we have not mentioned her name a whole lot here later on in set two.
That's true. She came out really hot out of the gates. Had a bunch of kills back to back. She's still hitting at 409, but she has been a little bit quieter, but that's because Vach is moving the set around really nicely. But if I were Miami, I would go back to Grace Lopez, who has been really successful so far, to try and just inch away at this lead that Florida State has.
You said that's where you're going with a perfect pass here to try to side out?
That's where I'm going with the perfect pass.
All right. We'll see if that's in fact what Coach Gondura and the Canes have dialed up as Audrey Koenig rotates to the back row to serve. 9 kills, 6 digs, and an ace for Koenig's efforts to this point. Noles are trying to even up the match 1 set apiece. Overpass, and Roby, I don't think, got that one down.
That is one of those balls that you really want to take care of and capitalize off of Miami's mistake.
And that sends Vach back to serve. Rothman hammers it home. And we are tied in Tallahassee. FSU's Ella Gaona will send it in. Lopez had it rejected. There's that block that's been coming along for Florida State. They've reached double digits in their last 3 matches, Madison.
And there's Corey Lewis closing that block so perfectly, diving her arms into the seam, creating a wall. No way you get through that one.
Miami's going to go to their middle blocker, Janice Leao. And FSU's going to go to Koenig. Leao with one hand sets the ball up to Grieve. Grieve just tips that over, and there's Lewis. Defense, offense. She says, I'm back in a big way against these Canes.
Lewis absolutely loves that 3 set. She's able to weave the ball through the blockers so consistently and efficiently.
Vach backhands it, but out of play. 3-0 Noles. Strong serve by Gaona. Did Miami catch the end line? Yeah, they did. That puts an end to Florida State's run out of the gates. It'll send Lopez back to serve.
And let's see what Lopez is going to do here. She's so aggressive behind the service line with that jump top spin. Let's see if she can make up for some points lost early in this set.
Kiss the tape. Filamawa just reaches out and touches it to push it ahead, and that's enough. Audrey Koenig tools the block. That looked funky, but it was effective.
Funky sometimes works. I don't think I've ever seen a serve-receive pass like that. She's going to be a really good beach player. She's playing beach in the spring as well. That was a fantastic way to keep the ball off the ground, and sometimes anything goes.
11 kills for Koenig. That out of the reach of Gaona. Filamawa tried to track it down, and Miami sides out immediately.
Angela Grieve is one of those players that comforts the younger ones. When she's on the court, you can tell she's very steady and very well-rounded.
Let me just take a moment to say here, Madison, early on in this set, I referenced it earlier, Miami FSU played a football game yesterday. They're playing volleyball today, and I personally love it. I know it's made travel a bit of a challenge for Miami, trying to figure out the logistics of doing all of that, especially with hotels and planes and things. But they have a solid green and orange contingent here. FSU's packed the house with their own folks. It's been a real lively atmosphere. It's great for volleyball in general.
Exactly. This is exactly what you want out of a rivalry match. You've got the football game, maybe some fans stayed. You see the orange and the green right there. People showing up for the volleyball team like they should, because the volleyball team has had a lot of success like their football team this season.
I walked in past people tailgating in the parking lot.
I love it. I think that needs to happen more throughout the entire season.
Leao had it rejected. Lopez off Roby's right hand. FSU plays it up. Leao looked like she got lost in space there, but Grieve pancaked that. And there you go, Heredia Cologne tools Conley.
Such a solid pancake by Grieve, doing whatever she can to keep the ball alive, and then Heredia Cologne taking a little bit off of that, more of an off-speed shot because she's been so powerful. That block just a little early on their timing.
Rosado serves it in. We were ready for it.
Yeah.
And FSU's superstar transfer middle blocker, Kiari Roby, ranks in the top 5 in hitting percentage, along with Corey Lewis, who leads the ACC in that department. And Janice Leao, who I mentioned earlier, has dealt with some injury issues. Coach Gondra said they're trying to get her up to speed offensively. If trying to get up to speed offensively is hitting 392,
seriously,
I would like to get up to speed offensively.
Me too. I mean, that is such an elite number for having to get up to speed. He said she learns a lot from watching too, so like she's getting better and better even throughout that injury.
She has been a tremendous player for the balance of her career for Miami. It's a joy to watch her do what she does. Heredia Cologne has a real bright future as well. She's heating up here in set number 3.
Yep, that was Heredia Cologne's 9th kill, hitting above 200. She's about to reach Grace Lopez with her 10th kill.
Lopez a freshman, Heredia Cologne just a sophomore, so underclassmen leading the way for the Canes. And so they're a team that's in that upper third of the conference that's building a tournament resume, and they're doing it with a lot of players that are going to be sticking around a while. So again, just, I know they're not going to have Grieve for forever. I know they're not going to have Leao or Cassiano, but there is a lot of talent in Coral Gables.
I completely agree. You know the future is bright when your star right side hitter is just a freshman.
And records the numbers that she does, my goodness.
Exactly, number 2 in the ACC in kills per set.
And then she leads the ACC in kills per set in ACC play, 4.26. There's a service error by Heredia Cologne. And FSU's lead is kind of solidified at 4 for the moment.
Miami really going after their serves, which they need to, because when Florida State has a solid pass on the ball and is in system, they're able to run through their middles, and we've talked about it, the hitting efficiency from Florida State's middles is elite.
And it's interesting, too, because Dan Fisher made that same point when he came in here last week. He said Florida State is so good on first contact that for us to really win the points we need to win against them, we've got to get them in deeper rallies.
Exactly. That is the key.
So far, Florida State, for their part, 6 kills on 10 swings to get this set started. They're hitting 600 as a team. They've been getting off to hot starts in just about every set, though. It's maintaining that's been the challenge. Lopez looking cross-court, gets the call.
And that was such a sharp swing from Grace Lopez, who's a lefty. That's a really difficult area of the court to hit, but she came in at a nice angle. She took that approach at an angle to where she just had to drop her thumb and power through almost a 10-foot line cut shot, but with a lot of power behind it.
There was some question. It was called as a touch, that she recorded the kill off a touch. FSU wanted to know who, but then they did not opt to challenge it. So Chris Poole and company still have their 2 challenges they started the match with. Point Miami, they serve. Rothman had it rejected. Snyder just shoves it to the back corner. Lopez off speed. And that's one of the more exciting things for me, Madison. I don't know about you. She's got a cannon of an arm. She can hit it anywhere on the floor, but she can also see the court well and tip it when she needs to.
And that shows a ton of maturity on her part. To be able to see, have court awareness, have situational awareness, and to know, hey, I don't have to swing really hard every single time. I can score in creative ways.
FSU responds with a kill from their freshman right side hitter, but going back to Lopez with more on her, here's Meredith Grimm.
Thanks, Sean. Coach Kenna told us earlier this week that she has very clear goals as a player, and what really sets her apart is her ability to make changes. He's worked with her more to develop her style of play as more selfish, but she's hungry, the kind of player that you love to coach, constantly wanting more.
Yeah, thank you very much, Meredith. In fact, he said that she is fun to be around, and he called her a volleyball fanatic. He said, you know, there's some players that come in and they're really good, and he said she's one of those that she comes in, she's good, she's got good court awareness, she's developing well, and she just loves everything about volleyball. She's a junkie.
And that's what takes you to the next level, being a student of the game.
Snyder had it stuffed. Angela Grieve.
And Grieve with the little stare down right there. See there, the timing was on. She fires her team up. Such a leader out there on the court, offensively and defensively. We saw her earlier with the pancake. There she is with that straight down stuff block. Grieve doing a little bit of everything.
Timeout, Florida State. The lead that had been as big as about 4 trimmed down to 2.
And that's the resiliency from the Miami Hurricanes. That's the passion. That's the never say die attitude that allows them to take such solid teams to 5 and win.
And they're a team that, you know, they've had an up and down journey, haven't they, Madison? You know, in one weekend alone, they lost to Clemson at Clemson, and no disrespect to the Tigers, but they are not quite to the level of, say, Louisville or Pitt or some of the teams in the upper portion of the conference. It's not a great loss. But then they followed that same weekend by going to Georgia Tech and sweeping the Yellow Jackets.
Exactly, and I just recently worked a Georgia Tech game, and they are so elite. They're number 8 in the country. They have Otene, they have some star outsides, they've got star middle. So the fact that the Hurricanes can sweep the number 8 team in the country, they were number 11 at the time, just speaks volumes. And the fact that they did it after losing to Clemson just shows how resilient they are.
They certainly have a lot of that bounce-back tendency. And Coach Gondera really thinks that they are a team that is primed to have a real big push here in the last 2 weeks. He likes what he's seen out of his group in the gym, how competitive they've been in practices and where players are trending in their various positions.
Yep, exactly. That's the way that you want to be trending in ACC play. Obviously, you want to be trending upward, and they're showing it here. They lost to Louisville 0-3, but then they bounced back and beat Virginia. They're coming off of a loss to Pitt, but they took 1 set off of Pitt, a very talented, the number 7 team in the country, Pitt. So they're doing a lot of things right now. It's if they can do it right all at the same time and for a long amount of time throughout a match.
Well, they've established themselves as a legitimate contender in the conference. Mathematically, likely out of the conference championship race, but they can certainly affect it with what they do here today and over the coming weeks. Koenig, cross court. Grieve got one hand on it and dug it up. Now she transitions out of it, and the freshman Gaona lays out for it. Here's Koenig, dug up by Heredia Cologne. Alanis Vieira checks in, Miami's second setter now in the back row. Grieve!
And Grieve is really successful with that quicker set. Vox sending her a super fast set, and then Grieve just with that sharp crossbody down the line swing. She did a really good job avoiding the block right there.
Koenig had it rejected, layout!
And Leao is coming off a season high 8 blocks versus Pitt. So Leao is so technically sound with her block, and she's definitely trending upward. Saw great numbers last match, and seeing her success here today.
Koenig this time swings heavy down the line, and Heredia Cologne got a hand on it but could not dig it up.
Koenig, I think, has some of the most range on this team. She has an amazing ability to avoid the block and hit every single area of the court. Really difficult for a defense to dig.
Filomala on the run. Droskovic pops a free ball over. Grieve missed the end line. Point Seminoles.
Yep, that ball just a little far off the net. Grieve trying to tool off the high hands like you do when you're off the net. Just air it a little too high and a little too out.
So 9 kills for Grieve to go along with 8 attack errors. She's in there to pass that volleyball and transition out. Leao sets her. Roby off speed. Smart shot by Chiari Roby.
Chiari Roby is one of those players that is so athletic that even if the ball is not perfectly to her arm and shoulder, she's still able to get the kill.
And such a valuable addition. We've talked in the past, Madison, about what she's meant to Corey Lewis, but a player like Chiari Roby, who was part of an Oregon team that nearly knocked off Louisville to get to the national semifinals last year, she's got a certain pedigree, right, that FSU doesn't necessarily have in terms of making runs in the NCAA tournament. She knows what it takes.
Exactly. She knows what it takes to win. She's been in those big stage, those high-pressure situations, and she knows how to deliver.
The lead is 2 for the Noles. Koenig goes off the top of the block. Lopez rolls it from the back row, and Snyder hammers it down the line. Lopez off the block and out of play.
I love that they went back-to-back back row swings by Lopez. She didn't get the kill in the first one, but they trust her so much. This is how much trust they have in their freshman. They go back to her. She hits off high hands, off the the tall hands of Chiari Roby to get the kill.
A serve. And Miami, who has been eating at Florida State's lead early on in this set, has clawed their way back to a tie at 14-all. Overpass, and the Canes lead.
And that's exactly how you should handle an overpass. Leao there, expectant, ready. She did a little jump. You see, it just takes a quick hop. Droskovic not able to jump because she's a back row setter, so she wasn't able to block that, and Leao took advantage.
That pass is tight. Snyder, did she get a touch? Still no call. FSU wants a touch, and they're lobbying straight at their head coach, saying that was touched. Chris Poole's got the challenge card. FSU wants Joya Teeter to take another look.
And this is why I love the challenge. Umpires and refs are not perfect. Sometimes they get it wrong. So I think it's great to hold everyone accountable and get rewarded if you're correct in your challenge.
As it stands, Miami is on a 5-0 run to lead this set by 2. If this call is overturned, it puts an end to Miami's run, takes a point away from the Canes, and puts it in the Noles department, and you go from Miami leading by 2 to being tied 15-all.
Yep. Yep, it'll swing it by 2 points. Both of these teams so close and competitive. Every single point counts.
So did the left hand of, it looks like Heredia Cologne, contact that volleyball? I think it might have.
Yeah, that is a really close call. It looks like right there it could have touched her fingertips.
Yes,
yep.
It did.
Yep. You see her fingertips bend backwards, and that's a telltale sign right there. Was a touch.
I'll tell you another telltale sign. Maddie Snyder came away from that and was indignant. And now that you look at the angle that the volleyball took off of her hand, it's pretty clear cut.
It's great to have a lefty right side because they're able to crank balls down the line. That's harder for a right-handed attacker to do.
So FSU pulls the challenge card for the first time in the match, and they are successful. So Chris Poole and the Seminoles, not this set up at 15. They still have 2 challenges for the balance of the match. Phelan will serve it in for Florida State. Layout. Heredia Colon dug up by Gaona. And then FSU collides.
Yep,
Phelan and Conley got tied up.
Yeah, just a little bit of a communication error. Phelan thought that Conley was going to go behind her. Conley tried to run in front. They just got tangled up. You don't see that very often with a high-level team like Florida State.
Service error. You want to try to keep everything proportional. For contact's sake, Florida State 3 aces to 2 errors. Miami completely upside down, 7 errors to 3 aces.
Yeah, that is not the ratio that you want.
FSU's block was ready, and there's a point for the Noles.
Now let's talk about FSU's block for a second. Led by Kiari Roby, who entered this match with 114 blocks, but FSU blocked a very tall and aggressive Pitt 19 times, then 13 and a half times versus Virginia and 14 versus Syracuse. So the block's been strong.
Heredia Colon had it rejected. Miami keeps it up though. Lopez tips it over the block. Filamawa crashes in, and it's knocked out of play.
Filamawa just did everything she can to keep that ball alive. That was a really good effort. Really gritty dig, but just not able to control it.
Vox serves it in. Conley lets it fly. It hits the scaffolding. That is in play, but Miami could not read the hops and the bounces and all the crazy things the volleyball can do once it gets up there.
Yeah, that definitely makes it difficult, that lower ceiling, but Conley, one of those players that's really quiet, but when she contacts the ball and she gets a kill, it comes in big moments.
And FSU leads by 1 point as we close in towards the final 5 or so of the set. Make it 2. Lopez airs wide. All in all, a nice clean set to this point for Florida State. 11 kills, 24 total attacks, hitting 375. Miami's been a bit more error prone, but they've also had their runs.
And right there, that serve receive pass a little off the net, but setter Savannah Vox, coach said, is really good at managing the set when the serve receive isn't there. She gets her feet to the ball nicely, and she can run a full offense from off the net.
Heredia Colon going to the jump top spin. A few canes that can do that, and Lewis snuck it right inside the edge of the block.
And Lewis is also one of those really athletic middles where if the set is a little low and she has to contact it a little lower than it's okay. But first, it always starts with the pass. Perfect in-system pass. Kenna Phelan, just a freshman, but great setter-hitter connection with her and Lewis, and then Lewis able to tool the block and get the kill.
7 kills in the match for Corey Lewis. FSU leads by 2, and speaking of sneaking it inside the block, Angela Grieve, not to be outdone, does so as well.
Miami definitely needed that point. They need to keep this match, this set, close. And Grieve is definitely the one to set in those high-pressure situations. She delivers really nicely in big moments.
Float serve in short by Neilani Feliciano. And there's Audrey Rothman, who transitions out of passing that serve with a monstrous swing.
First with the serve, Audrey Rothman. Nice pass, she has to get up really quickly and then waits nicely on her approach. Has that full approach in front of her, speeds up her last 2 steps and powers through.
Lopez right through the seam.
And I think it is important to note that Lopez, before she played Pitt and got that career-high 24 kills, she got a career-high 23 kills against Florida State. So really, right there, taking advantage of that block not being closed and driving it through that gap.
She has the potential to be one of the most electric players this conference has seen in some time. High reach, Lewis, that's kept up by Lopez. Heredia Colon airs long though. Man, that freshman reaching out and pancaking the volleyball gave Heredia Colon a chance that Flor Marie could not take advantage of.
Yep, all of these players doing whatever they can to not let the ball touch the floor.
Timeout, Miami. We will take one as well. The Noles perhaps closing in on a 2-1 lead.
For the Canes.
She is, without a doubt, the hot hand for Miami. She goes off speed there. And if you're Florida State, that's a solid player to set as well. Koenig. Grieve off the block. Roby off speed out of the middle. Grieve. Miami will want a touch call, and they get it.
And Grieve has had a lot of success tooling high hands off the block. Maddie Snyder not getting up high enough to point those palms down to the court and get the block.
Service error. And while Miami took that timeout, Meredith Grimm listened in. What'd you hear, Meredith?
Yeah, Sean, there was a lot of fire over there in that huddle. The Hurricanes don't need to be told what this rivalry means. Coach Keno said that they're giving points away, and that has to stop for them to come up big against the Seminoles.
Could not agree more. Tremendous work there, Meredith. And that has really been the key for Miami. They have recorded more fireworks, more kills, more blocks than the Noles, but the errors have been the bugaboo to this point for the Canes. There you go. Heredia Colon tooling the block. And we talk a lot about service pressure, Madison. Scoreboard pressure is also very real, and they have trimmed the lead back down to 1.
100%. This is when the game gets a little mental. The key to this is don't look at the score, focus on the contact in front of you, and like Meredith said, try and limit the errors.
It's good offense there by Miami. And their libero, Yadalise Rosado, goes back to serve. 23-22 Noles. Koenig off speed. Tremendous vision of the court for Audrey Koenig, and the Noles have set point.
Audrey Koenig has such great court awareness and vision. She powers through a lot of swings really aggressively, but I think it's very mature of her to see that donut hole and to tip it right into it. It's not the flashiest, but it'll get the kill.
And now she goes back to serve. Back row attack, Grieve dug up by Koenig. Rothman just shoves it over. Heredia Colon dug up and out, and Miami erases one of Florida State's 2 set points. The Noles now need a side out, and Miami will send Savannah Vach back to serve.
And Savannah Vach is such an elite setter. A lot of their passes have been on the 10-foot line, but she's running a full offense from there.
Back set, Conley. Rothman tipped it to the floor, and Kim Wisham, I'm not sure if she said she was in the net or she attacked the ball, comes it in, and they must win this set to have any chance of winning the match. Feliciano does the honors. And Corey Lewis fires away out of the middle. Lewis early on is effective.
Florida State's block has really hit its stride in ACC play. Snyder does a really good job setting the block, getting them in a good position across the net, and then Lewis Does a really good job tracking that set, getting all the way out to the pin and closing the block.
Interestingly enough, Florida State subbing out Rothman, who can go 6 rotations and often has, for Ella Gaona. Gaona's looked pretty darn good today.
She has. She does a really good job reading the shoulder of the attacker and sitting in that angle and digging up those hard-driven balls.
And that was a tough serve by Gaona. Florida State is out to a 2-0 run. So credit the ace to the freshman, who serves once more. That barely cleared the tape. It was passed well, though, by Heredia Colon. And there's the result, a screaming kill cross court. That is as heavy a ball as I have seen hit in this gym in quite some time.
And that's what happens when Miami is in system. They really need to make a point to have every single serve receive be to the setter, because when Vach has all of her options open, it's a really solid set and a really good swing.
Snyder cross court. Grieve off Florida State's block. Speaking of blocks, Leao and Vach.
Leao coming off the season-high 8 blocks versus Pitt. She's very technically sound. She's got perfect timing. She read the shoulder. She dove her arms into that seam, pointed her palms down, and that's a really difficult ball to cover.
FSU is the best team in the ACC at avoiding opponent blocks, but Miami has 7 in this match to this point. Audrey Koenig, though, refuses to be slowed down. 15 kills for Koenig.
It seems like every time Koenig goes out there, it's almost like a career high kind of night for her.
Grieve set a career high a year ago against Florida State with 25 kills, and now she's got number 12 in this match.
And that was a good block touch by Florida State. The defense just not able to get underneath it and scoop it up.
3-all early on, set 4. Roby hung in the air for what felt like ever and tipped that ball. Koenig tips it as well, and Florida State is going to the off speed for some offense.
And that was a great set by libero Kylene Filamawa, who has been an outside hitter. She's been a libero. She's been a setter. She's got a really nice, well-rounded game. And that's a huge advantage for Florida State. When they're out of system, their libero can come in, give a little jump set, have it be super clean, and really exact on its location. Yep, you can tell she's been a setter before. Her hands are very controlled and clean, and she gets it right to Koenig's shoulder. Perfectly placed and timed.
We got a challenge by Miami. And Florida State saying they've failed 2 challenges. And I think they're right. I mean, there's been so many challenges and so many things contested in this match. I don't even remember now. So Miami challenged the first point of the match, lost that one. I know that they were contesting that it should have been a replay of the point at the end of set 3. But that wasn't an official challenge.
So I guess they have to have a challenge available, because you cannot challenge if you've lost both of your challenges.
Jeff Holzmeyer is indignant that they have used both of their challenges and were unsuccessful, and I'm trying to remember for the life of me if there was one in between those 2 points.
I don't remember as well, because there has been so much happening in this match. So I think that she's saying, you're out of challenges, you can't challenge this. I'm trying to read lips. You know the saying, it's not personal? Well, I feel like in rivalry matches like this, it's always personal, and you can tell by how into it each of these coaching staffs and all of the players are. And
now Coach Gondor is saying That thing you thought I challenged was them. It wasn't me. I should still have one. And I'm not sure what point they're referencing. Florida State has challenged a couple of times.
And we're not even entirely sure what they're challenging. Now the coach is talking back and forth, trying to talk it out. This is unprecedented. I have never seen a match like this. Florida State.
I think you can see us on screen, and I think our look says it all. We're just looking back and forth because now here comes Chris Poole.
I'm pretty stunned. I don't really even know what to say. This has never happened before. There's been a lot of communication by the ref to all of the coaches. I'm pretty sure a decision has to be made soon on if they're allowed to challenge and if they have.
At some point in time, you have to say these extended stoppages are not good for the players on the floor, and at the end of the day, those are the ones that carry a lot of the weight here.
Exactly. It really does a few things. It ruins some momentum, and then also it can get some players cold. So if they're not out there continuing the stretch and staying warm, this could actually cause injuries if they wait for too long.
Well, now Joya Teeter is looking at the monitor, which I guess means that Miami did have a challenge left.
And if you're Miami after all of this, I'm sure that you hope with all of your heart that that challenge was worth it.
And they're going to say that Florida State, I believe, was in the net. The point goes to Miami. And so if I'm doing my math correctly, the fact that they awarded the challenge back to the Canes and the Canes were successful means that they have one left. Now Florida State's got an issue.
So they're challenging a net call.
I'm not sure if FSU had an issue or if FSU was literally and genuinely confused as to what their rotation was because they were off the floor for so long. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was a very, very, very long break. So let's get back to some volleyball, shall we?
Sounds good to me. And this crowd is just going to continue to get louder.
And if anything, I think that this long break is just going to fire up the Seminoles more. Kiari Roby, that set a little high, but she's so athletic. She was able to tip that ball and put it in the right spot.
Conley dug up and over. Hanadia Colon is rejected, and Florida State's got something to say when they come through with the block.
Kiari Roby crashing in, diving her arms into that seam, and then you see there, she is fired up. She wants it.
She's from Atlanta. She started her career in Eugene, Oregon, but you need not tell Kiari Roby about the juice in this Florida State-Miami rivalry. She's feeling it and more. I think everybody in the gym is.
Yeah, I think every Seminole fan in the gym has her back on that one.
Service error, and Miami comes back, and Heredia Colon shouts across the net right back at Florida State. Boy, this thing is starting to get real heated.
From an entertainment standpoint, this is what you want out of a rivalry match. So it is entertaining.
Out of the middle, Roby.
Roby ranks 5th in the ACC in blocks and 5th in hitting percentage. She's got over 200 kills on the season. You can see why. She's got a ton of range.
That sends Audrey Koenig back to serve. The Noles lead 6-5. High reach Cassiano. Rothman down the line, that misses.
Rothman a little off balanced, a little off the net, trying to turn that ball sharp down the line. You have to appreciate the effort there.
Miami won set 1, 25-23. The Noles have won sets 2 and 3 at 21 and 23. And Kiari Roby has been the emotional spark plug for the Noles here in set 4.
Yep, Kiari Roby really heating up here. She's got a super quick arm swing, does a really good job at seeing the block and hitting around it.
Now she goes back to serve. Rosado lays out on serve receive.
Rothman, yep, right there trying to go high off the hands. Really athletic set by Kenna Phelan, the freshman. She was in back row, pushed that ball all the way out to the pin.
Heredia Colon serves it in and over. And here's Angelia Droskovic. Deep in the seam, Rosado there on serve receive. Filamawa got to it. Rothman. And Heredia Colon plays it up. Free ball, Florida State. Out of system set, Rothman's second effort. Heredia Colon digs it over and out. Point, Florida State.
Great deep swing there by Rothman, who waited on that approach and then powered through the ball, but I think a lot of that play can be attributed to Kai Filamawa diving out with the one-arm dig outstretched, and then the out-of-system set perfectly placed to Rothman.
Florida State has been a markedly better defensive team in conference play than they had been leading in to their ACC slate of games, and as good as they've become, there's still no stopping Grace Lopez.
It's all that speed behind every single one of her swings. If Corey Lewis isn't there to close the block, Grace Lopez will capitalize.
20 kills for Grace Lopez already. Lewis. Boy, Florida State's middles are feeling it.
This is some high-level volleyball. Both teams able to run all of their offensive weapons because of how in system they've been these past few past few points.
Two-point lead for the Noles. That's an overpass. Lewis again. Did she catch the sideline? Yes. They're going to call a touch on Miami. So from our angle, it's hard to see if she actually caught the sideline or not. Either way, it's point Noles.
Corey Lewis with the 3 set, able to create some space between her and the opposing middle blocker, and then just tagging a little bit of the outside finger is all it takes.
Straight down, but out of play.
That's Grace Lopez's 21st kill of the day, hitting around 450. Standout performance by a freshman.
You know, you keep playing like this, that's how you become a 2 week in a row ACC Offensive Player of the Week.
Exactly.
And you might just fuel your team to a road win too. Another one-handed save by Filamawa, but Rothman tripped over her freshman teammate trying to get it up in second contact.
It was a good dig by Filamawa, and then Rothman with a little Superman jump trying to keep the ball alive.
Timeout as we speed toward the NCAA tournament. And Koenig will certainly be a fixture in it.
right out of the timeout. Droskovic, a really good bump set right to Koenig. Koenig with a nice long approach, perfectly placed on the court. Like we said before, she has so much range. She's really difficult to read and block.
Lopez, come on! How good are you?
It's like a cannon. I don't know if I've seen that fast pace of a swing in a long time. So athletic, and it's because of that really quick arm swing that she's able to get all that speed behind the ball.
Coach Gondura said she's a good player with a good arm, I guess.
Yeah, good. Good is an understatement.
Tell you what, Maddie Snyder's got a pretty darn good arm of her own, and you gotta love when a right side hitter can go down the line as well. She just shredded that thing.
Exactly, and that's why it's good to be a lefty on the right side. It's a lot easier to turn it down the line because it's a cross-body swing. From one freshman to another, we've got a lot of powerful plays going on.
Could not agree more. So Snyder, who's had a nice match today, 7 kills on 17 swings, heads back to the bench. Leao nearly got it away. Filamaua once again has put in a day's work in the back row, but Leao saw the opening on the floor and just tipped it.
And we see the tip, Filamaua doing everything she can to get there, but Leao, a grad student, so she's very mature and experienced, has really good court awareness. Coach said she's one of the great ones that just finds a way to get better even with age.
2 plays had Filamaua laying out the entirety of the sideline in 2 different directions. Misconnection there. Koenig went up for it and tipped it kind of sideways. 13-all. Miami has clearly settled into this 4th set. Back set. Conley runs around it, knocked back to the Noles. Koenig dug up by Grieve. Joust at the net. Koenig just hammered that.
And that was a really smart decision by Koenig to go over on one with that swing and to not pass it up. She didn't allow Miami's defense to get set. As you see there, Miami's back line a little shallow, so she took advantage of that, didn't allow them to go back to their base, and swung deep to where no one was.
That's always something coaches love to see, isn't it? Can you terminate overpasses and can you terminate free balls?
Exactly, those are gimmies. At a high level, you need to terminate every single time on both of those.
And her Audrey counterpart can certainly terminate at the pin as well. Number 9 in black has her 7th kill of the match.
And that's one of the reasons why Florida State is so successful. Their setters have a lot of options. They're able to spread out their offense really consistently. Audrey Koenig with 17 kills, then Kiari Roby 10, Corey Lewis 9, Audrey Rothman 7, Maddie Snyder 7. So they've got a really evenly balanced offense.
Koenig will serve once again. Heredia Colon off the top of Florida State's block. Feeling over on 2. Joust at the net, and Miami wins it. First time today we have seen number 4 in gray, Ashley Carr, and she asserts herself immediately.
See here, really good dig. And that's Savannah Vaught, the setter, going up and pressing, getting that block.
Yeah, I thought it was Carr, but it was the setter Vaught, who Coach Gondura said has come along strong on her block. As well as a 5-1 setter, you can do that. And now she back sets Lopez. Oh, man. Lopez is going to set a career high here today. Again, I get it. She's a freshman. But to be a freshman and to have recorded 24 kills against Pittsburgh, no less, as your career high is impressive enough. She sits at 23 right now. Almost a certainty she'll hit 24 again. Might do it here. Did she get a touch? No. Oh, yes, she did. Kim Wisham changes the call, says touch Florida State, point Lopez and the Canes, and now she's equaled her career high from a weekend ago.
And you know what's so impressive? She's equaled that career high in the 4th set. So it's not even like she's barely reaching it at the 5th set with more opportunities. She's reaching it early.
3-0 run for Miami. Vach now goes to the back row. The Canes have 3 attackers in the front. Rothman, quality swing, it's dug out of play, tied at 16.
And Rothman actually made that look fairly simple, but that is a really difficult area of the court to hit when you're off the net. There's definitely more room for error when you're off the net, but she still went for it, and it paid off.
Lewis, stuffed car. Miami gets it back, but Lopez catches the tape, and it goes out of play. That's an attack error for Grace, who I think even more impressively than the 24 kills, it's just her 4th attack error. She had 24 kills before the attack error and was hitting 500 as well. Now it's 465, and it's likely going to climb. Lopez again, that's a new career high.
And Lopez is so springy with that approach. She's not the tallest, but she has some of the highest hops I've seen in a long time, and she's got long arms, so she's contacting that ball at a very high point over the net and snapping with all of that power behind it.
And after 8 kills in the last set, she's got 7 in this one. And keep in mind, Miami has 17 points on the board. Lopez, come on!
And a lot of the times when a setter is setting one person, the defense gets comfortable. The defense understands how to block and how to defend, but Lopez is finding ways time after time to score.
And now Miami leads. Timeout, Florida State.
Pandora loves Unboxed.
It's the first time all 30 are all in to conquer a brand new bracket in the new NBA Cup. Who's going to be first to take it? It's in-season tournament time. It's NBA on ESPN time.
How'd you get that mixed with your combo?
These fries and rings?
At BK, you can build your combo.
Frozen Coke too?
Yep, sides and drinks too. BK, have it your way.
We welcome you back to Tallahassee on the ACC Network Extra, where we have taken in a highly and hotly contested rivalry match between Miami and Florida State. This is a must-win set for the Canes, and that's a service error by Heredia Cologne.
And Coach Poole, during the timeout, was preaching closing the block, taking away Grace Lopez's cross-court swing. So let's see if Florida State's going to make an emphasis on that and really work to get their arms into the seam and close the block.
In the meantime, Angelia Draskovic goes to serve. Lewis had her hands up, got a piece of the ball, and then got the set and the kill. And FSU responds with a 2-0 burst to lead it by 1 at 19-18.
Lewis is so terminal in front of the setter, behind the setter. She's hitting 400 or better in 16 matches this year. That is elite numbers from Corey Lewis.
Tough serve. Rosado did well to get to it. Draskovic digs this up. Florida State's out of system. Greaves splits the blockers, got right between Lewis and Snyder, and Draskovic could not dig it.
And that was a smart set. They've been going to Lopez a lot, and then they're going to switch it up. Corey Lewis not able to get there, was a little slow, a little late to close that block, resulting in the tool.
Neilani Feliciano back to serve. Whoa, talk about tempo Florida State for years has wanted to see Lewis quicker and quicker and quicker. That's as quick as I've seen.
Take care of it, Lewis. Why don't you? A little quick set behind the setter. Miami middle blocker not able to track that. Not able to front her and block the ball, and Corey Lewis taking advantage.
We have now entered the red zone. The last 5 points of the set, and that is an untimely attack error by Lopez, who has been tremendous to this point in the match. In general, Keno Gondara will call timeout.
And that's a smart timeout. We're nearing the red zone. You don't want Florida State to get any more points. You've got to try and close that gap, I should say, before Florida State gets any more points. So they're going to try and ice the server. They need an in-system pass so they can run their entire offense. Grace Lopez, though, 26 kills, hitting .447 with only 5 errors. She's having a standout performance here today.
Here's what's at stake. Miami is looking to snap a 3-match losing streak to the Seminoles. Florida State is trying to remain tied for the lead in the ACC standings with just a couple of matches left to play. What it could mean for the Noles to win the ACC for the first time since 2012. They had a 4-year run from 2009 to 2012 where they won the ACC 3 times. It was right after Chris Poole got to Tallahassee. And they've had some runs, they've put together some good seasons since, but they haven't quite gotten back to the top of the league. And for Miami, not only, Madison, are they trying to get through the Noles and break a streak, but this is going to determine a lot for them in terms of RPI, in terms of momentum going into some pivotal matches that are likely going to make the difference between whether they make the NCAA tournament or not.
Exactly. As we all know, RPI is everything. So beating Florida State, who has a really solid RPI, is great for Miami's resume.
Now let's be clear, when they play Georgia Tech and Pitt, just playing those matches will also be helpful for Miami's RPI, but the value of beating them, of taking some added momentum and confidence and maybe knocking off one of them as well, would certainly seal it for the Canes, who are certainly at this point on the bubble. Lopez off the top of the block and out of play.
And it's really impressive that Lopez, who is quite shorter than Corey Lewis, is able to hit high off of her hands. That's really just a testament to how high Lopez can jump.
Koenig rejected by Leao. Florida State sends it over. And Snyder won't have a weirder or more appropriately timed kill on the season.
And that's a really good cover ball. It was kind of like a reaction play. Koenig just really couldn't do anything else with it, but she's very quick and athletic. And then Maddie Snyder with the bump kill.
That could be an ace. It is. And this is about as much breathing room as Florida State, or really either side, has enjoyed in this 4th set. They got out to an early run, the Canes erased it, and we've gone back and forth as we so often have in this match. And the Noles are perhaps 2 points away from ending it. Free ball to Miami. Grieve off the block.
Grieve right there kind of making up for getting aced that point before. They were targeting her on the serve. I know she probably really wanted to get out of that rotation. And you see her there turning the ball down the line, hitting off the hands of Maddie Snyder.
Deep float, Gayona's jammed up. Filamawa up to Koenig. Come on!
The body control that it takes to wait, have that set come all the way over your shoulder from the back line. Filamawa, all of that ball control. And then Koenig waiting so patiently on her approach. It's a lot easier to make a mistake when the ball is that far away from you getting set. But Koenig is just an elite pin hitter.
Miami calls timeout with Florida State standing at match point. All right. So if you're Miami, what do you need to do?
Miami has been really successful when they're in system, of course. So you need to work on the first pass. And then if I'm Miami, I'm going back to Lopez. 27 kills, hitting almost 500. She's been really successful. She delivers in big pressure moments. But you have to focus on the first contact right here. And then if you're Florida State, I say pay extra attention to Lopez. Make sure to get over there and close the block. And if you're Florida State, you need an aggressive serve right off the bat. Try and get Miami out of system.
This has been an awfully fun match. And regardless of how the next sequence of points have gone, and I know that the tensions have gotten high, Miami has represented themselves well. They've battled tight with a team that's at the top of the conference. And I'm going to go back on something I said earlier. I think Miami's got some breathing room off the bubble, and I think they have made their case that regardless of how this stretch of matches goes, they deserve to be in.
I completely agree. That sweep of Georgia Tech spoke volumes to their program and their abilities. And then 9 wins in the ACC is a feat. That's a really solid record right there.
But if you want to leave no doubt, knock off the Noles.
Exactly. So Miami going to need to be flawless right here for 3 points to tie it.
And that journey starts right here. Can Florida State remain atop the league, or can Miami spark a rally? Phelan serves it in. Lopez over the back, and it's over. The Noles drop set 1, and I think Ken Ogondara is going to challenge that they touched it.
Might as well. You have